Adam Smith, 1723 to 1790. One worker working alone could make only 20 pins per day, but 10 people working together could make 48,000 pins in one day. The Roman Empire that held Europe together for so long finally started to break apart. There was a worldwide movement of people seeking freedom, and people were overthrowing their greedy monarchs. Empires were crumbling into nations. Many new nations formed. A new nation called America was being born at this time. It was made up of people from all over trying to flee from their greedy monarchs. At the start, the quest was the freedom from being exploited. As it matured, the quest turned out into the freedom to exploit. My father worked as a customs guard in Scotland and died before I was born. A band of gypsies kidnapped me, but my uncle rescued me and brought me back to my grieving mother. I was a very good student and entered university at age 14 on a scholarship. I went on to many universities and met many men who had great interests in fields such as history, politics, economics, philosophy, and religion. My main passion was for liberty, reason, and free speech. I became a well-respected and very wealthy lecturer. I lived with my mom, and I gave away much of my income to charities. I rejected all religions but believed in an impersonal creator, in morals, and in an immortal life after death. I became a well-respected scholar on society, its politics, its religion, and its history and economy. When I died, I didn't leave behind any children nor any writings. All my personal writings were burnt on my wishes. I wrote that the marketplace needs no regulation, as there is a self-regulating force which I called the invisible hand. I claimed that if each consumer is allowed to choose freely what to buy, and each producer is allowed to choose freely what to produce, then the market will settle on prices and supply that are beneficial to all the individual members of a community, and hence to the community as a whole. In nature, natural selection is also a self-regulating force that is very similar. If each species is allowed to evolve freely, then its population will be distributed in such a way as to be beneficial to all the other species. I believe that human motives are mainly selfishness and greed, and that competition in the free market would tend to benefit society as a whole by keeping prices low, while still building in an incentive for a wide variety of goods and services. Nevertheless, I was wary of businessmen and argued against the formation of monopolies. I advocated that the rich should be taxed at a higher rate than the poor. I claimed that the free market, while appearing chaotic and unrestrained, is actually guided to produce the right amount and variety of goods by this invisible hand. I married economics with morality. My other great contribution was to claim that labor should be divided to maximize profits. The least steps that each person makes in a production line, the cheaper is the labor in the long run. Soon after, assembly lines were started and people were made to work like programmed machines. Soon after I died, the American people overthrew their greedy monarchs. Many of my ideas were incorporated into their new form of governance and to policies of other governments in the world. Accountant for Meyer Bauer Rothchild, 1791 to 1817. My life was quite uneventful except for the fact that my father was the accountant for Moses Bauer, the very successful Jewish goldsmith in Germany. I was sent to a very expensive school at an early age. When I was 20, I became the financial advisor of Moses Bauer's son, Meyer. Meyer listened to many of my ideas which I had for him to increase his wealth. One of them was to lend out more money than he had in his vaults. He lent to almost anyone who needed to borrow, charging very high interest rates, and if they could not repay the loan, he would possess their house that he insisted as collateral. I pointed out that his reputation earned him trust among his clients, and that he should use this trust to increase his fortunes. I convinced him that the greater his own prosperity, the greater the trust that he will earn. He managed the king's estate so well that he was sought by other kings worldwide to manage their wealth. The store he inherited from his father had a red shield as its logo. I convinced him to change his name legally to Rothchild, the German word for red shield, as the name Bauer sounded too primitive. He set up banks, and using other people's assets and his reputation, he invested those riches to make a fortune of his own. Over the years, his possessions were larger than those of most kings. When Rothschild died, I lost my position and I died a poor man.